has not been implemented, and that is a major challenge for marketers as it is now. And this implies that an additional cost of 11 naira per litre for this transaction due to the forex official primary market differential. All right, and it's a very long read. Also, you can get more details on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Don't go anywhere, stay with us. You're still on to Mainland 98.3 FM. It is Trends in the Papers.
Paying attention to the hustle and bustle of Lagos. Take a chill pill.
Oh baby, now the feeling. Calm down. Holiday to Mozambique. Let me go to Mozambique.
On the switch, we have the perfect guide to your destination. Mainland 98.3 FM. The sound of Lagos.
You're listening to the sound of Mainland FM 98.3.
Alright, welcome back. It is still Trends in the Papers in Mainland 98.3 FM, and just before we went on the break, we were looking through the trending stories on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. I have Fuad Sahid joining me via the phone line. Good morning, Fuad.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. How are you doing?
Well, thank you very much. Okay, and also Okoyemi Akinde is in the studio. Good morning.
Well, good morning, Sandra. So it feels good to hear Fuad's voice this morning. He's sounding foreign.
It's a 5-star voice. It's a 5-star voice.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Alright, so before we went on the break, I was discussing about the fact that marketers are accusing Massa and MP of dollarizing transactions. So remember that last November there was a communique that was reported in the media and signed by heads of the midstream downstream petroleum authority, that port charges should be collected in naira. However, although there are attempts to enforce the decision, but then it has not been implemented, and it is a major challenge. And remember that the price of dollar is practically driven by demand. So if there is no supply, then obviously the price will rise. So in this instance, every time a vessel needs to berth, we have to pay port charges in dollars, and this is a major issue now, and is also something that is also driving the scarcity of petrol as it is now, and there are complaints from the Depot and Petroleum Product Marketers Association of Nigeria. Alright, so more details of that on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Fuhad, just before I quickly move past that, what exactly is the issue, or why is it so difficult? Implementation seems to be an issue for us in this country. Like, when policies are being set out, or there's a law, there's an act that's out there, but putting it into work is usually the problem. Why is that such a problem in this country, especially with our agencies and commissions?
Well, it's simple, very simple. Corruption. Nothing more. For everything that we set out to do, no matter how beautiful the plan is, really there's vested interest, and of course we run it on the tendency of corruption. You would always see that implementation falls flat. So it's nothing but corruption. We have all the regulatory agencies, we have all the models for everything to work well, but many people start to apply vested interest and then begin to manipulate the process. What you see is that very simple things become problematic this time, and so.
Alright, so
basically what I'm just saying is that it's just basically corruption. And again, the entire supply chain of the petroleum industry is so problematic and it's so confusing. And if you try to understand the entire importation, storage, distribution, and delivery to the end user. If you try to understand the entire chain, you're going to mess up your brain. They clog this, they mess it up, it's so cumbersome. But sometimes, for some of us who are just journalists, we try to analyze the entire thing and you get completely confused. It's unfortunate, but that's what the situation is.
All right, economic corruption.
It shows how bad things have gotten 2 times. 1 or 2 reasons to probably follow someone to clear something and come into this country. You know how much you would have to pay to get there to milk the sales. But implementing
the affecting petroleum marketers, pointing to the fact that to charter a vessel to convey 20,000 metric tons of petrol within Nigeria for 10 days, freight charges are denominated in dollars valued at about 220 million naira at official forex rate of 440, and 440 million for marketers who have to source forex from the primary market at 880. That is really it's quite unfortunate for as it is now. More details on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on now, set 2023 agenda. So as a follow-up to the town hall meeting series that's been and development held the second in its series of such town hall for presidential candidates, and on the roll call now, the second series featured presidential candidates of African Action Congress, Omiyele Sowore, Social Democratic Party, Adewale Adebayo, All Progressive Crown Alliance, Professor Peter Uyadi, and Action Democratic Party, Yabagi Sani. There's a whole lot that was said. We have riders to that story. Sowore saying that it is to unite Nigeria and do justice to the people. Sani coming in with tackling insecurity and to govern by rule of law. Adebayo coming in with effective system. Half of those in government will be in jail, and saying that we're open to restructuring state police. That's Kokomsu at Channel's town hall meeting, and coalition of fact checkers monitor the town hall meeting to curb spread of falsehood. Fuhad Dokwe, did you follow the second edition of the town hall series? So going by the statements that these candidates have made now, do you have anything to say so we can quickly watch them?
I followed the first one, the one that was held last week, Sunday, and then the conversation that was between Peter Obi, the candidate of the Labour Party, Kola Abiola, candidate of the PRP, of course representative of the presidential candidate of the PDP, that represented so, and all of them really brought up good things they want to do, but yesterday was not different. All of these things are really interesting to see. We've never had a poor or a low level conversation when it comes to build-ups to election. All of the politicians will come and give you beautiful stories they want to do, and once they get into office, we ask ourselves, are these really the monsters that we've chosen to make? And that's always been the problem. I think we need to agree at this point that a lot of people, a lot of things need to be done with the supposedly smaller political parties. Previous Sunday, it was Kola Abiola that really wowed me with his ideas, with his understanding on how the security architecture in this country can be brought together to function optimum. And yesterday it was Sowore also that came, even though with all of his dramas and all of that, he sounded like someone that understood what this country needs at this moment.
Alright, for her, this whole idea of unifying the country, I don't know, do you think that is if that is so, then we're edging closer to a healthier country or a healthier democracy, unity, this unifying Nigeria? Because it seems to be like at the front burner a lot of people, a lot of our candidates thoughts.
I'm sorry to want to use this analogy. It's just like when you see a lady who you want to approach her, the only thing she wants to hear is that she wants to just settle down and marry. So as a guy, you just continue to throw that at the date. I'm sure all of these guys know that one of the challenges that we face at this time is the unity of the country. We are so divided along ethnic and religious lines like never before. And so it's easy for anybody to come up with an idea of how I'm going to unify Nigeria. Like I always say, to ask them how now, they run into trouble. The fact is, we can be united in our diversity. We can be a country where Muslims, Christians, pagans, all ethnic groups exist, function, develop at their own pace without any Nigerian. It's just a matter of doing the right thing. I'm sure one of our callers, if you remember, would always say that, look, we would not be talking about unity if there was equity, fairness, and justice. If we are able to do that, really, the discussion of unity would not be anything that we need to continue to talk about. Unity is not something that you give by talking about it. It's about doing the right thing, being fair to all, creating an equitable system, and then when there's justice, everybody feels safe. In Nigeria. So it is what it is, really.
All right, more details on page 6. That's the second one. So we should expect in third phase there are 18 political parties, and so far 8 have been represented at the town hall meeting. Channels also started theirs with NNPP presidential candidate Kwakwanso being the first to feature on that one. All right, more details of this on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on now, we also have sponsoring fake news won't win elections, says APC Presidential Campaign Council. So yesterday we had this conversation, and Nuruddin said there's nothing like fake news. You can have fake information, but there's no such thing as fake news, and that actually caught my attention. But before we dig deep into whether there's fake news or not, this is as regards the stories that's been going around with as regards the presidential candidate. That story keeps hovering over his head, and they're saying that their candidate has consistently said he will make this campaign about issues that have to do or affect the lives of Nigerians, and how to prefer workable and enduring solutions that will improve quality and whatnot. But they're saying now that, or in a statement from the APC PCC, the opposition PDP and its subsidiary is that I don't know when Labour Party became a subsidiary of PDP.
The presidential candidate of Labour Party was the running mate of the PDP in the last election. He just left the PDP.
It doesn't mean anything. I mean, what? It just a single person in a political party, and then that is supposed to, make some sort of.
It's election. I mean, this pettiness flies around.
Well, in a statement coming from the APC PCC, I'm reading and quoting here: the opposition PDP and its subsidiary Labour Party, having realized they have no sure path to victory in the February 2023 presidential election, upped their campaign of calumny, disinformation and misinformation on Saturday by sponsoring fake news against APC presidential candidate. And they said they did it by forging the letterhead of INEC, and they also forged the signature of the National Commissioner. That's a very interesting one. Although INEC has come forward to say, okay, that is not from them. But I don't know, but I just feel like this politics or this campaign season is getting more interesting, and we should expect, shouldn't we? Let me ask this question. Let me not give my own opinion. Or do you think we should expect more of this drama, of course, in the campaign seasons to come?
Yeah, as much as we've always talked about, let's make this conversation straight, let's make it very clean, let's bring issues, let's move away from how you want to, what you want to do, to how you want to do those things that you want to do. You want to fix the infrastructures, how do you intend to do that? You want to fix education, how do you want to do that? You want to reconcile the fiber of this country, which we have to admit at this point that is being broken, badly broken. You want to fix security in this country. Sandra, yesterday night at about 8:55 on the Long Bridge at Berger here, I ran into traffic robbery, as in right to my face. These 5 guys came in from under the bridge with guns, with heavy load, and they broke. I mean, we needed to see what they did yesterday. And they were so comfortable. They were not, their faces were not even covered in the traffic. I mean, you look at the ease at which they pull off that. I mean, I almost want to call it haste, but then we saw it. So that's how bad everything has been in this country, and that's what I think we should be talking about.
We should focus on. All of this is a distraction.
It's a needless. Sorry. Remember last week, callers were dragging you and I on this show. I didn't talk about this. We didn't pull it off. We are being selective in our judgment, and then somebody somewhere went and picked up the letterhead of INEC and brought in the letter signed by Mr. Okoye, and the letter went viral. And the media has picked it and used it for a program.
Fuad, Because now Opera said that Opera said that this is needless for us to talk about. But I don't know. Do you see this as a form of distraction, or it is something? A caller said yesterday on Political Roundtable that if we have anybody that wants to lead this country and the person has any questionable, characteristics, we should look into it. But do you think that now it's just becoming a distraction in this season?
I first want to address the statement by the Presidential Campaign Council of the APC. I mentioned it on Political Roundtable yesterday. All the political parties, maybe the smaller parties may not really be involved in this, but I know that all the major political parties have all activated their propaganda and PR machinery as we speak. So it is easy to point fingers at people. I'm telling you that, look, as they set up the campaign council, there are units that are in charge of these things. So if it's thrown at, you remember that we also had a bit of all manner of things thrown at Atiku, thrown at Peter Obi too. So these things don't just happen by accident. There are people who are paid to do these things. We know this as a communications person, we understand some of these things. I always say that, look, whatever anybody does at this time, as a political party, as a presidential candidate, as anybody does, let's just be a bit responsible with the way we throw these things out. It's easy to come up with disinformation, malinformation, or misinformation. But whatever will threaten the unity and the peace of this country, we shouldn't do it. I'm sure even Ashwaji Bola knows the game very well. He knows he's going to get a lot of jabs. Atiku knows the game. It's an old war horse. He understands that he's going to get a lot of things thrown at him. I'm sure Peter Obi also understands the game. But in all of those things, please, I just want to appeal to all of them.
You should save
this country.
Alright, thank you very much. More details of that on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on very quickly, also Uduaghan declares support for Okowa, 6th unity in PDP. Uduaghan is former governor of Delta State and declaring his support for Okowa as running mate to the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party. And that's on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. Most Nigerian roads are expired, says FEMA. FEMA is Federal Road Maintenance Agency, yes, and that is on page 9 of the Guardian newspaper. And what we have is that, worried by the condition of Nigeria's road network, FEMA has painted a gloomy picture of the roads and highways that have expired, with little or no capacity needed to utilize. Alright, and we can get more details of that on page 9, discussing the highway system and whatnot. And finally, from the Guardian newspaper, failings of the National Assembly, and that is on page 16 of Guardian. Failings of the National Assembly. It's a very, very long read, and it's an editorial actually, and this is lamentation by the present and past leadership of the National Assembly. And that is all from the Guardian newspaper. Now moving on now very quickly, we're going to rush through the Nation newspaper. We don't have so much time. You're listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, and the major headline from the Nation newspaper: APC, Tinubu remains a solid, reliable candidate. And the writer said that fake news won't help opposition. Candidates to engage Nigerians in diaspora. More details of that on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. Moving on. Wike, others not keen on truce with Atiku, Bauchi governor in dilemma. And I don't know, but what we have is that the G5 governments are not keen on truce with Atiku Abubakar. Atiku, who last Thursday expressed optimism of reconciliation with the group of G5, was yet to open fresh talks with them. I don't know how this is being reported, but it's a very interesting one. Just last week we had this conversation that the G5 said they are always open to negotiations, and why this report is telling us that they are not keen on a truce. Yes,
Sandra.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Okay, now read that report. Now, when I bring out the source from that report now.
The source.
What is the source of that report here? That report. Bring out the source of that report from that report.
It was lent.
From who?
It was lent.
That from who now? From where?
Inside source.
You see what when I talk about all the parties activating their PR and propaganda machinery. Do you now understand? That's why
I said this same.
We can issue a statement.
We had this last week. They were at Benue State, and they said the whole lot, and they said that they are still open to negotiations or reconciliation. But now this particular, that's what I'm saying, that this particular report now is like contradicting that particular one, and this one now is just saying, okay.
I know. What I'm now saying is that the headline says Wike is not keen.
Wike others, Wike and his people, they are not keen.
And others, okay. I'm now saying that did Wike and others issue a press statement to say, look, we are not ready for reconciliation? And I'm saying that this particular report, what is the source? What is the source of that report? Conciliation report.
Very important, because what I keep seeing here is it was.
I don't like to say this because I don't like to say this because they are our colleagues. But the idea of reporters and editors sitting down somewhere and conjuring the report, I don't know, because again, I don't like a story or like to talk about a story where they go an inside source, an unconfirmed source, or a source that wants to remain anonymous. Whenever I see any report like that, what comes to my mind, this is just a piece of propaganda, that's simple like that.
Alright, so shall we move then?
Doctor is quiet.
No, I don't want Ope to dig deep into this. Let's move on from this particular stuff. Because there's still a whole lot here, because I know it will tick some people off. Last week when there was this mention of whether or not Bala Mohammed. No, I know whether or not Bala Mohammed was going to come on to whatever it is that's happening between the G5, but it was also length. I'm reading. It was length. Wait now. It was length that the Bauchi governor had expressed his re-election fear in a dilemma on whether or not to team up with the G5. So where the length is coming from?
Somebody said it's already G5 and out. Somebody said it's already G5 and out.
I didn't read that.
That's the new one now. This is G5 and half.
I didn't read that. But more details of this particular one, keen or not, on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. Let's keep moving now. We also have here, after collecting 3 million naira ransom, bandits demand 10 million naira to release victim's body. That's really unfortunate. Well, there's the detail is on page 6. The detail is on page 6 of the Nation newspaper. So what we have is that after collecting 3 million as ransom, the bandits are now demanding another 10 million before releasing the body of their hostage. So apparently, the abducted person, that's Obadiah Ibrahim, died at the hands of his abductors last Monday, yes. But the government only told his family of his death on Thursday. Earlier, they were actually demanding 200 million naira, and later they settled for 3 million naira. And what they said, after giving them the ransom, they said, okay, they told them that the money is for food stuff and that they should send another 15 million. They later went down to 5 million. It was just back and forth, and now the guy died. This is very, very unfortunate, actually. After paying all of that money and then you still didn't get your family member alive, and now they're even saying that for you to collect his body so that you can give a proper burial, you have to pay.
Why have they been keeping his body now? It's almost a week.
Because they not paid the ransom for the body.
That's what I'm saying. Where have they been keeping the body? Do they have mortuaries where they embalm the bodies now? I mean, remember when one of the victims of one of the rescued persons from the Kaduna Abuja train, when she came out to say that where they were kept, medical personnel usually come to take care of them, to administer drugs on them when they are sick, comes in to give them their toiletries. If they are on their cycle, they come in to supply stuff for them. So if you want to collect money to release the dead body of someone, where have you kept the dead body for over a week that the person had died? So it's either the dead body is no longer existing, or they just want more money, or whatever it is. And yes, you want to respect the family member. You want to so badly, at least they say that in Yoruba, exactly. At least you want to see the body, and then what's the probability that if you still pay this money, they would even release the body to you? It's really unfortunate. The fact that you have to go through the trauma of your family member and going back and forth, you are still paying money. You pay 3 million. They told you that one is for food. Except you are still in Nasarawa. That's how you spend that much money in captivity to be fed. And then you send in another 5 million, and they did not call it that. The 8 million you pay though is to wet ground. Now pay 10 million now to come and carry the dead. Like, these are the things that people go through in this country. So when we talk about people having mental issues, it is not just about the economy. I mean, you kidnapped probably the breadwinner of the family. They probably sold properties, collected loans, begged to get money, and even after paying the ransom, you are now calling me to come and pay to collect the dead body. Where are we in this country? What are we doing as a nation? What are we doing together here?
Well, more details on page 6 of the Nation newspaper. It is a very, very unfortunate one. Moving on. We have here, Lagos Chief of Staff loses wife, and that's on page 27 of the Nation newspaper. Democrats retain control of the U.S. Senate. That's on page 27 also. Now, above the masthead of the Nation, we have here, Senate panel queries NETI over 960 million naira for 43 officials. And that is on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. Just a little background to have an idea of what exactly we are talking about here. The Public Accounts Committee, SPAC, of the Senate has queried the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative over the 960 million naira 2022 budget allocation it disbursed as personnel cost on the 43 persons on its staff list. 960 million naira for 43 people. What?
Nigeria is not broke.
What?
How are you? Where you call my name?
I see you are part of the personnel that will collect the 900 million. I was going to ask.
I don't do.
This one maybe that's where you are even chilling on self.
I know. Why are you surprised? I don't know. I thought that by now, after several years of doing this job, nothing should surprise you again.
No. I'm sorry.
I'm going to go about this season.
Personnel cost of NETI is 960 million. Overhead cost is 760, and then capital cost is 340. Everything. This is all in the budget, and they're saying that we have just 43 people on their staff list.
Easier. Standard. We go to this country where a particular research institute. So remember, the chairman was facing the Senate committee to probing what they've done in the last 3 years or so. And he said the only thing they've done after getting millions of naira from the government is research on Kilishi process. Because in the same country like that, they told me, okay, what have you done for this number of years that you've been set up to
for 34 years?
What 34 years said that the only thing they've been able to come up with is the research on
how to process and preserve Kilishi.
So if you're saying people are 44 staff members and this
43. Why are you different person?
Oh, sorry, 43.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm not surprised.
All right.
Like we've always said, it's almost like it's say now.
The Senate
corruption will kill this one. As simple as that.
The Senate panel is currently querying them. A certain percentage have been paid so far, and they're saying that budget is actually overbloated, and they're looking into it. More details on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. We also have here Buhari Oshomole Obi to open projects in rivers. That is on page 4. I don't know if to say congratulations to the people in Rivers State. we should raise eyebrows as regards the many projects that the Rivers State Governor has been inaugurating in recent times. But we'll take it as it is. But what we have in this one is that the Rivers State Governor, Nyesom Wike, has invited President Muhammadu Buhari, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, to inaugurate some projects in the state. Also invited for the same purpose is former national chairman of APC and former Edo State Governor Adams Oshiomhole. And well, okay, so this is actually an interesting one. Fuhad, I don't think we should be, surprised. Yes, exactly. With this move that Nyesom Wike is actually
if a governor who is a member of the PDP is inaugurating projects and it doesn't deem it fit to invite a PDP, the PDP presidential candidate. It's just, it's a message. It's just sending out a message that look, I'm going to mess you up. It's a better than thing. That kind of thing now. When you are obnobbing with somebody's rival, and like, look at the list. Peter Obi, APC, Buhari, and so once articles continue to look at him from afar, like what's wrong with this guy? Again, we'll see how this game in the PDP goes. And the elections are not so far away. Whether we can survive the turbulence or it's a people that will survive, time will tell.
Alright, well, more details on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. And I also have here, Gates Foundation votes $1.4 billion for Agric in Nigeria and others. And that is on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. And finally from the Nation, my surgery experience by Vice President Osinbajo. That is also on page 8 of the Nation newspaper. You're still on to trends in the papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. Fuhad Sahid is via the phone line and Okoyemi Akiode is here in the studio. My name is Louise Omobola Sandra. We're moving on now to the Punch newspaper. And the major headline on the Punch says, National Carrier. Domestic airlines asked courts to terminate federal government Ethiopian deal. This was actually an interesting, headline when I saw it.
And I was waiting for this particular one.
Yes, that's why I okay. All right. So what we have is that Air Peace, Asman Airlines seek withdrawal of Nigerian air license. AGF Malami, Ethiopian Airlines, Sirika, Nigerian Air listed as defendants. So what we have, looking at the background of this, let's not forget that Ethiopian Air is supposed to be, I don't know how to put this, please correct me if I'm wrong. Ethiopian Airlines is the national carrier of Nigerian Air.
No, they are partners.
It's a partner.
And it's not. That's 40. It's done. It's
46% to 41%.
It can be done anywhere in the world, or it's being done anywhere in the world. We're talking about the national carrier. Sandra,
give the background.
Do you know we don't have 100% rights to our printing? The Nigeria Printing and Minting Press was privatized under former President Olusegun Obasanjo.
Let me give the background story to this. So what we have is that the National Carrier project may be stopped by the court as domestic airlines have taken the federal government and its foreign technical partner and majority shareholders to court. So about 8 local airlines took the government to court, listing Nigerian Air, Ethiopian Airlines, Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika, Attorney General of the Federation Malami. I don't know why Malami is always his name always comes up in
he's a supervisor. The story that I want to talk about. Let's go on. There's a part of the story I want to pick up. Let's go.
There's a part of among the prayers is that the indigenous airlines went to the court to stop the national carrier deal and withdraw the air transport license already issued to Nigeria Air by the federal government and Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. They also claimed by the firm, which said that Transaction Advisor was incorporated in March last year, and alleged that the company is linked to the aviation minister. So according to them, the federal government airlines. Now, let's look deeper into that particular claim, all right, with the company that's been linked to the aviation minister. So there are diverse. Okay.
Let me just quickly train you because I might have to step aside.
Okay.
On this back and forth on the national carrier, there was a time that we kept asking the question, why the desperation to have a national carrier? From unveiling a logo, spending millions of thousands of dollars, for example, to unveil a logo that I'm sure if we ask a Michael to do something, we'll be able to come up with something more creative. To a promise of we're going to take part of the presidential fleet to start the national carrier that never happened. So how desperately they've been trying to push this. We need to ask ourselves, yes, for sake of national identity, a national carrier is a beautiful thing. But if we can't get it right, once we begin to have what we call vested interest, we are going to mess everything up. We want to, although it's an allegation, but I'm sure that there's no smoke without fire. You may want to ask yourself, what exactly is the interest of the aviation minister? Why is he being so desperate to push this through? You are setting up a national carrier where Ethiopia Airlines is a majority shareholder.
Another thing, just to add to what you are currently saying, remember that we also had the question of how come Ethiopia Airlines is the only one who went for the one. There was also that question at the beginning of this particular partnership.
We have back and forth on they want to buy aircraft, they are not buying, they are leasing, they are not leasing, they got Ethiopia Airlines. And I'm thinking, why are we so desperate to push these things through if we don't have the basics, don't have what exactly it takes to do it? Is it compulsory? There must be something in all of this for some people who are invested in this to ensure that anyhow, even if it does not really give us what we need as a nation, we cannot push this thing through. And it's unfortunate. And I like the fact that the local airlines are doing this. What support have the local airlines even gotten from the government in running their operations? A lot of them are running by the thread that are supposed to be working to support the industry, pushing for a national carrier that we don't seem to have the capacity to do. It is simply about issue of vested interest, and that's the important thing about Nigeria. Everything we come up with good ideas, good policies, and then somebody somewhere in his own corner of the office creates a vested interest strategy and then messes the whole thing up.
So basically, it's something that should be looked into this company.
Even the cost of designing the logo of the national carrier, they have to contract it out to have that design made somewhere that someone can sit down somewhere in the comfort of their homes, and one little boy in the heart of the Keja can do that within 2-3 hours and give us something beautiful. And we complicate things, simple things in this country, we just make a mess of everything, and it only tells the quality of leadership that we have in this country. Because I won't be surprised. I'm not saying it's legit. I'm not saying it's it's clear no project. We've seen where big government functionaries have been linked to bids, and I won't be surprised if the allegation is true. But then, just like Fuad said, the local operators in this country are going through a lot. I mean, gone are those days where flying was just a basic thing. Now it's a luxury. To fly from Lagos to Abuja is about 93,000 naira, 84,000 naira, and then to go by road is not even safe. And then you pay maybe 4 times, and you still tell you to come and pay to carry the dead body.
Alright, well, as it is now, domestic airlines have asked the courts to look into the federal government Ethiopian again, and the indigenous airlines want the court to stop the national carrier deal and withdraw the license that's already been issued. They are claiming that the firm that served as transaction advisor for the transaction was incorporated in March 2021. That was just last year, and alleged that the company was
without any experience in that.
Without any experience in that company, aside from the fact that it's a newly established company, it's also linked to the aviation minister. Okay, that's one, and they're also allegedly, yes, of course, and they're also alleging that that ATL issued to Nigeria Air did not pass through the normal security clearance, because according to them, the travel market to Ethiopian Airlines. So there's so many things that they're going to, they're looking at, and the registered trustees of the airline operators include Azman Air, Air Peace, Max Air, Topaz Aviation, and United Nigerian Airlines, filing a lawsuit against the move on Friday. That's the major headline coming from the Punch newspaper story on page 2. Debate: presidential candidates lambast federal government for corruption insecurity. That's on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. And that's all that we can take, unfortunately, from trends in the papers. We're unable to check through what we have trending from Guardian, Vanguard newspaper. We have here 2023 budget is threatened as crude oil output drops 7.4%, 8:14, as we pick one or two stories and just take a focus for the morning, and also quickly watch the one or two trending stories from Vanguard. You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM, and we'll be right back.
Stop paying attention to the hustle and bustle